another Monday. Time to get it started. Oh, shit. Oh, no. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the show. Hey, look, man. Is anybody else just... Like, I know it's only an hour, right? But that daylight savings time, that shit sucks. My God. Anybody else, like, feel like they're dragging just from an hour change in the time? Why do they even do that? I don't even understand it. Maybe we'll do the whole show on that today. Maybe we'll talk all about that today. Maybe that's the whole thing. But in all seriousness, guys, there's a couple things I want to get into today. Mostly, I wanted to talk about, well, basically, I figured the entire MCU multiverse out. You know, no big deal. Don't want to toot my own horn. But, yeah, I figured the whole thing out. I figured it all out. So we're gonna talk about it today, and you'll figure it out too. We'll do other stuff too, but mostly just I figured it out. Okay, I'm pulling into the tower. Look, man, I really did, Chet. I figured it out. Yeah, no, I did. I figured the whole thing. All of it. All right. What is up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Hope you guys had a good weekend. Happy to be here with you as always. I love doing these streams. I love hanging out and nerd-venging with you all. And if you like it too, do me a favor. Smash the like. Get a subscribe. Do a subscribe. I know it's annoying. I know you'd have to maybe get a YouTube account, etc., but it really does help us out. If you want to help out, get more people into Nerdvengers Tower, have more fun on the streams, do a subscribe. Do a subscribe. Hope you guys are doing well. Man, again, the daylight savings time, it's crazy because it's just an hour, but it really did kind of throw me off. I don't know if that's the case for any of you guys. Why this early? Well, see, that's the thing. It's not early. And you know what's funny? Wait, what the fuck? Gambling? No, chat. What the shit, bro? We gamble on Fridays, dude. I told you to close that part of the tower off. Everybody over there just fucking going crazy. Just gambling as much as they possibly can. Shut it down! Shut it down! Okay, it's off. Whew. Sheesh. Bunch of fiends. Fiends for the gambling. Okay, guys, so we've got two main goals for today's stream. We're gonna split it up into two parts. The first part, we're going to talk about this theory that I have that basically explains like the entirety of the Marvel multiverse. It's really interesting. There's clues in Multiverse of Madness. There are clues in Quantumania. There are clues in some new reports that have been coming out. A lot of the rumors we've been talking about over the past couple of weeks. If you've been watching any of the videos on the main channel, we've been talking about some of this stuff. I want to put it all together and really and truly like we'll figure it out together, because there's even some stuff in here where I'm like, okay, but what about this, you know? And I want to see what you guys think of it. I guarantee you, though, we're going to bring up some stuff that you either have never considered or never thought about, or you haven't thought about for a long, long time. I think there's some really big clues as to where all of this is going and how all of this ties together. So the first part of the stream, we're going to go over that big theory. Second part of the stream, we're going to react to some videos. My Comic Planet, welcome to the Nerdvengers. You are a Nerdvenger now. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to react to some videos, guys, and it's going to be a little, just a smidge less positive than the first part of the stream, okay? And and I don't know if you've noticed this, put a 1 into the chat if you've noticed this. There's a new series of videos coming out online from a ton of different people, all talking about what's wrong with Marvel and how they fix it. Okay? Like, I've seen, I don't know if you guys have had this experience. I've had this experience. I see a ton of these videos now. There was one by like a Cosmonaut channel. There's one by a channel called Film Speak that everybody keeps talking about. So here's what I want to do. I want to react to a few of those videos. We'll talk about it together. You know, we'll make up our own mind. And then I'm going to do my version, my big total how to fix Marvel video. But before we do that, we could kind of like do the research together. It's Cosmonaut. That's the guy's name. Cool. Remind me of that later because I'm going to probably forget that. Yeah. So the two that I really want to watch, and maybe the only two that we'll watch, will be the Film Speak video and the Cosmonaut video. Those are the ones I really want to check out. I know there's a lot of other... Here's the thing. I'm looking for criticisms and people that are coming from good faith. Not to even say that some other people don't have good points or whatever, but like if your whole mission is to like dunk on things or dunk on Disney or dunk on Marvel or Star, it's not that you might not have a point. It's just I don't think your argument's going to come from a place of good faith. So I want to check out the Film Speak video. I want to check out the Cosmonaut video, and then I'm going to do my version of the video. I'm gonna talk about what I think. Maybe I'll agree with a lot of what they're saying. Maybe I won't. But that'll be in the back half of today's stream. I also want to do a drawing. Actually, you know what? I'm going to push that to tomorrow. What we'll do is tomorrow, guys, we're going to have a Nerdvenger stream, a member stream at 11 a.m. And I'm going to explain in that stream, I'm going to explain some kind of like bad news because I'm not going to do another watch party for The Mandalorian. Okay? And I know that's like shocking and maybe surprising or whatever, but I'll explain it tomorrow in the stream for all the Nerdvengers, but we're not going to do that anymore. I just can't do it. I can't stay up for 3 a.m. It doesn't feel like the premieres of the episode are hitting quite the same way that they did before, so I don't even think it necessarily makes sense to continue to do them. We'll still talk about the episode. So my plan is... because I think this next episode is going to be dope. It's apparently 53 minutes long. And so we'll talk about it Wednesday night at 6. Because I still want to wake up, watch the episode, you know, work on a breakdown, etc. What the fuck? I got to clean this microphone up. And yeah, so we'll do it at 6. But I'm not going to stay up for Mandalorian anymore. Maybe I will for the finale. Maybe. But yeah, for now we're gonna halt doing that. I know, right? Okay, big thumbs down. I know. I'm sorry, but we'll talk about it tomorrow. Okay, I think we can more or less begin to get into the theory. Begin to get in to the Marvel multiverse. Let me sip some of this delicious iced coffee real quick. Why, is everybody mad at me? Everybody's mad that I'm not doing the watch party? Guys, I'm sorry. But I'll explain it tomorrow, okay? I'm sorry that I hurt you. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't mean. Nah, we're not mad. We're upset. Okay, cool. Look, I still love the show. It's a weird feeling for me to be as excited about the show. And yeah, anyway, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it later. Okay, so the first question that I want to ask you guys is the same question that I asked you several months ago when we did the last version of this stream where I had the whiteboard. I don't have the whiteboard anymore. I just remembered Elisa has it and she's using it out there. So no whiteboard today. But we're going to more or less piggyback off of a lot of the thoughts that we had in that stream. But let's just start with a very basic question. I really want to know what you guys think. Throw it into the chat. Why is the sacred timeline referred to as the sacred timeline? Why is it called the sacred timeline? What do you think? All right, right on, X-Ace. We'll talk about it tomorrow in the member stream. Try to come by for that. Why is the sacred timeline? I don't know. You tell me. Well, I'm trying to be interactive, D. Murdoch. Jesus. I don't know. You tell me. You tell me, Josh. You're the one on the screen. Yeah, I know. Sheesh. I'm going to say 14. Yes, that's the correct answer. It's the timeline in which others sprout from. Ooh, that's interesting because She-Hulk wasn't in that timeline. God damn it. The timeline that makes them the most money. Yo, y'all are wild, bro. What the fuck happened this weekend? You guys are coming in hot. The timeline got baptized. Correct. Josh triggered everyone already. Probably correct, yes. No Mando? No, what are you talking about? We're Mando. I'm all about Mando. We're not talking about Mando right now, though. Jeez. First Kang is born. I like that. Jesus blessed it. Maybe. I turned 22 yesterday. This is a great birthday present. Right on, brother. Happy birthday. Because at some point, the multiverse didn't exist, and then someone created it. Maybe Kang. Ooh, interesting. Interesting. The time where Josh still does watch parties. Jesus Christ! Perhaps it's because He Who Remains comes from that timeline. Yeah, Elijah, that's it, I think, yeah? So I think many of us agree that it has something to do with He Who Remains. Obviously, he's the one that's more or less pulling all of the strings for the entire timeline via the TVA. Okay? So the very start of where this theory goes and where we need to sort of differentiate from what we thought was going on before, there's a couple of reports out there. One came from the Cosmic Circus, and the Cosmic Circus has been doing a lot of podcasts lately. Alex Perez has some really interesting thoughts about Kang, the multiverse, etc. But this was actually also hinted at by some comments made by either Jeff Loveness or a producer. But essentially talking about how Ant-Man and the Ant family defeating that Kang the Conqueror was not supposed to happen. And like many of us watching the movie were like, yeah, no, we didn't like that. It wasn't supposed to happen. But that's not what I mean. Okay? It's that, but it's also the fact that it's not supposed to happen at all. Because they have this massive loop going on, essentially. All of the different Kangs, and I'm talking about the Council of Kangs, they are all more or less watching time from the outside looking in. And if you notice, there's that cut in the post-credit scene where it sort of pulls back and Immortus and the Centurion and Ramatut are looking at all these multiverses like weaving between each other. Okay? And that is the thing they are referencing when they say they could threaten to destroy everything that we've built. Okay? So, here's another question that I have for you, the chat. Do you believe He Who Remains? Do you think the story he told Loki and Sylvie is actually true and correct? Interesting. So a couple of people say no, but a lot of people say yes. Somebody's like, why would he lie? Yep, of course not. Nope, no, maybe, nah, yes. Poll Town. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go to Poll Town. Do you think He Who Remains is telling the truth of the multiverse? No polls. It's a yes or no answer. Wait, what? Wait, what? We can poll yes or no. He Who Remains equal Victor Timely? I think that is possible, actually. Yeah, I think that's possible. Not 100% sure on that. They already lied about the timekeeper. It'd be weird if he lied again. Yeah. So, a couple of interesting things going on here with regards to the TVA and the story that He Who Remains is telling, okay? So, I just want to remind you of a couple of different things. First of all, the video that is shown to Loki that explains the multiversal war, the conflict, and the creation of the sacred timeline by the Time Lords is at least partially a lie, because we know it's not actually the Time Lords. We know the Time Lords aren't a real thing. Those were robots basically made for propaganda purposes. We also know, if you look at that video, it is like approved, like written and approved by basically an organization within the TVA that handles their propaganda. So we know that at least part of that video is a lie, because we know that the Time Lords aren't a real thing, right? So if part of the video is a lie, then it's obvious that the TVA was using propaganda and lies for its agents and for people that are like kind of indoctrinated in. The main idea being, if you don't help the sacred timeline, all chaos, multiversal war things are destroyed, right? Oh, by the way, you're a variant. Here's what a variant is, blah, blah, blah. Now, we think that a lot of the variants, when judged, when standing in front of Ravonna Renslayer or whatever, what essentially usually happens is maybe they just get inducted into the actual TVA, because we learn later that all the TVA agents are actually variants from other universes past. Okay? Now, if you go into the Citadel at the end of time, there's a couple of interesting things that go on here that I think, again, indicate that He Who Remains is lying. Number one, Miss Minutes, after doing a last attempt to try to get Loki and Sylvie to not venture forward and to turn around, leaves, goes to Ravonna, and puts Ravonna on a new mission. So at the very least, there was a contingency plan in place set up by He Who Remains for when and if Loki and Sylvie went there and confronted him, right? So I personally don't think that he's telling the truth. He might be telling the truth about a lot of things, but I think he's lying about the end of the multiversal war. And I think he's lying about the sacred timeline being the only thing in the multiverse. And actually, if you think back to the beginning of the last episode of Loki season 1, you have all of these like kind of big bangs and black holes and like whatever they are, right? We go into one of those particular things, and we see a bunch of strands that create like the sacred timeline that are circling around. And if you really think about it, I think that going into that like black hole and like it really feels very similar to in the quantum realm when you have those giant vortexes, right? And so I hope we're not getting too sweaty. I hope we're not getting too sweaty already, because there's a lot of other things that I want to get into and explain. Check this out. Another question for the chat. Another question. Here's a question for that ass. Do you think that the Secret Wars that we're about to see, the multiversal war we're about to see in Secret Wars, do you think that it already happened? Yes or no? Do you think it already happened? Num 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 num. Time is a circle, so it happened and it didn't happen. Interesting. So you guys are kind of split on this, but there's a lot of people that think that it did happen. Let me explain something, and this is very key. This is very much key to the whole thing here. I am, of all of the things in this, I am the most certain that it has not happened yet. Essentially, it has not happened the way that it's about to happen. Okay? And this is really, really important. I've got one more question, and I'm looking at my notes. Everybody's like, I'm sick of these damn questions. Just get to the point. But look. Here's the next one. And then I'll try to like pull it all together, okay? Was the Council of Kangs always there during Infinity Saga / Loki? Boom. There's your question. Lee, thanks so much, man. Awesome. I appreciate the 20 spot. That's very generous, man. I'll go over that again later on. You need more deodorant? It's getting too sweaty? Should I do a poll to see if people are sick of polls? I like that. Yeah, see, we're getting to the heart of it. The no poll gang? We're getting to the heart of it here. My goodness, Josh, you're in the rabbit hole for sure. It's so scary in the hole. Josh, can I be your dad, please? Not today. Try me again later. We'll see. More polls. Time for blinkers to fuel the brain. Get it going because we're about to get real crazy with it. So 64% of you say yes. And look, I have to agree with you. I think on 100% unequivocally, yes. The entirety of what the Council of Kangs have created existed while the Infinity Saga was going on and during Loki. So what's the explanation? How does this all fit together then? Because the sacred timeline was not the only timeline in the multiverse. It was an isolated timeline in the multiverse, okay? And this is corroborated and backed up by stuff that Alex Perez has been talking about in a lot of like his coverage, okay? So first of all, Darth Swole 66, that's a hilarious name. You are a Nerdventure now. And PJ gifted 5 memberships. My goodness. My God. Thanks, PJ. Appreciate that. In fact, guys, you can kind of see it. When Kang the Conqueror is pulling up all of the different multiverse, he says the trouble with seeing time the way I do is it's hard not to skip to the end. And when he skips to the end, he's pulling up a circular timeline surrounding the Citadel in time. Okay? So what I think's going on here is there was a multiversal war. The entirety of the multiversal war, it happened, it did its thing. Then there was whatever He Who Remains did using Alioth. I don't think he actually killed all the other Kangs. I don't think he destroyed them, stopped the multiversal war. It is possible what he did was kick all the other Kangs out of wherever the Citadel is. Because we see the Citadel and it kind of looks like there's 4 statues. One of them gets knocked down. Presumably that's the Exile. Presumably that's Kang the Conqueror. But regardless of all of that, there came a moment where He Who Remains was able to isolate out the sacred timeline and keep it isolated away from all the other Kangs. Now, one of the reasons that I strongly feel that this is the case is that in a recent podcast, they were talking about the Cosmic Circus, about how this was not supposed to happen, the events of Ant-Man. And the reason they weren't supposed to happen is because the Council of Kangs has literally everything on lock. They have the entire multiverse weaving in between each other. And they all know each other. They have communication. There's essentially TVAs for all of these different universes, or something that can help to correct and prune them, right? And the reason the Kangs were surprised that the Conqueror was defeated, that the Conqueror, or rather, the they that the Council is referring to as far as beginning to touch the multiverse, is the people from the 616 timeline. The reason the loop is now broken, is because there's a force, a universe, maybe a couple of universes, that have not been accounted for, that are now interacting with the Kangs, with the multiverse. That's what all of that means. Are you with me so far? Are you still with me? Does it make sense? Do you understand? Nah, no, I'm telling you, I'm telling you right now, I'm not even, I would bet a lot that this is what's happening. One more time slower. Okay. Let me explain it to you like this. The Kangs in the Council, they've been on a loop for a long, long time. The same events are constantly happening. The same things end up happening. Okay? And so the events of Quantumania were not supposed to happen. That's not in the loop. That's not part of the schedule. And the reason it happened is because an isolated timeline that was purposely isolated by He Who Remains now is no longer isolated and is interacting with this multiverse, this loop that the Dynasty has been on. So now there's like this outside universe unaccounted for by the Dynasty that's interacting in ways that they can't necessarily anticipate. Okay? Does anybody... do you understand what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm talking about? Now, there's actually one... Yeah, well, Kendall, I'm getting to that. They were literally talking about it, right? So here's the next part that's really interesting. What happens when you take the sacred timeline and you unisolate it, but you also stop curating it? What happens? What would happen? You would essentially get variants of the isolated timeline. So this is why it's so crazy. It's not just because here's what I think He Who Remains was doing. He took this timeline, he isolated it out, okay, and he was curating it. He was curating it for the purposes of another multiversal war. Okay? And so he's curating this one timelining, keeping it away from all of his other variants. But then there's this plan that when it breaks, it's also going to create essentially an entire new multiverse, which is unaccounted for by the Dynasty. So essentially what you have going on is like this multiverse that's perfectly woven together. All the Kangs, they all figured it out. They're all working together. Then you have this isolated timeline that unravels, and it's like a wave, like do it like this, a wave of new multiverse all interacting with the basic, what they're going to end up referring to as the time loom. And that's what's causing all the incursions. That's what's causing all of the craziness. Okay? We need more whiteboard. I wish I had the whiteboard. I really do. Okay. Are we on the same page? Are there any questions? So basically like how Spider-Man interacts with the Spider-Verse. Yep, exactly. I thought dreamwalking caused incursions. So dreamwalking is essentially it's essentially like taking something from another universe and putting it into a place that it doesn't belong, which messes with the fabric, which in the MCU is said to be able to cause incursions. Yes. But I think there are just going to be straight up incursions. Essentially what we saw in No Way Home was about to be the start of like a ton of fucking incursions. Right? In my opinion. Okay. Do you know what the Mobius strip is and how it applies? So the Mobius strip, in my opinion, I don't know if the Mobius strip is going to be taken to any kind of like actual lore level, other than the fact that like that's how Tony Stark figured out time travel via the Pym particles in the quantum realm. It is, of course, interesting that circles in and of themselves seem to play a major role in Kang's technology and the Celestials. It's perhaps linked to, you know, the 10 rings, all these different things, right? So it seems like the circles, maybe there's something there. I'm not really sure. Okay. But regardless of all of that, I think that's pretty much what's happening right now in the Marvel multiverse. One more question, and this is actually just a question that I had myself when I was going over this theory, where I was like, okay, but here's the one problem with the theory, is what's up with the Fox X-Men films? Are these films that just existed in the multiverse that the Kangs were curating, the Council, or were the Fox X-Men movies somehow within the sacred timeline as well? Because my question is, I believe, like if you look at 838, right, which we're about to look at, there's actually some really interesting things that if you look at the differences between 838 and 616, you might see what He Who Remains is doing to the timeline to try to stop it, right? But my question is, why is 838 so similar to 616, but the Fox X-Men universes are not? Now, one possible explanation is the 838 universe, as I said before, is actually something that exists post-Loki and is a sort of spin-off from the sacred timeline multiverse, which is why they would be very, very similar. My mind kind of goes back to the shot at the beginning of that episode where they go into one particular black hole or one particular Big Bang, one particular universe. You know, it's kind of like weird, right? Is it possible that the Fox X-Men universes are also curated by TVA? And I think exactly, Ritwick just said it. I think Deadpool 3 will answer that, and I think it will answer it as yes. It will answer it by acknowledging to fans and explaining that even the Fox X-Men universes were curated by TVAs. TVAs that either belonged to the Dynasty or TVAs that belong to He Who Remains / Sylvie / maybe Loki in the future. Okay. So it's getting pretty sweaty. Are you okay? Are you okay? And do you understand where we're at so far? I thought there was only one TVA. I don't think so. There's at least two. presumably, because of what we see at the end. I got questions. Dude, hit me up with the questions. Put them into chat. I will go over the questions. But, are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs? So this does still tie into the other theory that I had, because I still think that Loki will end up being an important part of like recruiting He Who Remains before he get, like, I still think that all plays, but it's the fact that I think He Who Remains is going to be a hero. Okay? He's going to be a hero, and what he's doing to the sacred timeline is trying to create the best Avengers, the best version of the Avengers. So what I think's going on is 616 and those Avengers are meant to be the Avengers that will help defeat the other Kangs and save the entire multiverse. Okay? And there's a couple of different, like, really interesting things that happen. So let me just kind of jump into some of these fun differences here. What the shit? Okay, this is a really fun video. It's one of the few that we'll watch to kind of like break down some of these differences here. Okay, so check this out.
Madness. The scene where Christine compares the scans of Strange 616 and 838. We can see the date on the scans. Strange 838 had an accident on January 3, 2012. It was long before Strange 616. That's why this Strange was more accomplished. But the injury of Strange 616 is calculated to be from 2021. That's because our Strange was dusted in the snap. If we add those 5 years to the age of his injury, it would go from 2021 to 2016, which was the correct year he sustained the injury. In Doctor Strange...
So, what this means... And it's such an interesting thing to really contemplate. But what it means is the Stephen Strange in 616 had his accident 4 years later than the Stephen Strange from 838. On top of that, there's a 5-year gap. So there's really 9 extra years that the entire world did not have Stephen Strange there. Stephen Strange himself had less time, as like everything's tracking forward just through linear time. He has had less time than the 838 counterpart to excel at magic study and all of these different things. So what it seems like is, if this is all He Who Remains plan, right? He was purposely delaying or holding back certain things from happening, I think, so that maybe Steven himself would have all of these interactions with Steven's way further ahead down their sort of inevitable push than him. Because there's another big rumor that Steven is actually the danger, that Steven is going to end up being the antithesis of Kang when it comes to the multiverse, which is like a whole nother thing. It's like really crazy to kind of get sweaty about and think about. Either way, I still think like Beyonder Kang's like the big bad and all of that's going to go that way. This will probably be something that's covered in Doctor Strange 3, but it is very interesting. There's another, and let me see if I can find the video here. There's another really interesting bit of differences. Okay, this is a really great video here.
The debut of the Illuminati. First, let's address something that probably is the...
Okay, couple of different things here. This is a big video that breaks down the differences between the Illuminati and why the Illuminati were like so much more powerful than the 616 Avengers. Okay? So I want to just kind of, I want to like take you through this. It's very interesting.
Illuminati's lifetime, that being the defeat and ultimate death of Thanos on Titan, which we actually get a glimpse of, courtesy of Professor X and a vision to Doctor Strange. From just a few brief scenes, we can learn a lot about this encounter with Thanos and how it happened much differently than what took place on Earth 616, or the mainline MCU. which saw Thanos take the Time Stone from Doctor Strange before invading Wakanda in order to complete the set. For one, we know that they not only defeated Thanos, but actively killed him on Titan in a rather gruesome way. But more so than this, we know that he was stabbed with his own double-bladed sword. Though this seems like a relatively minor detail on the surface, there is a ripe well of subtext to explore as a result of this, which warrants multiple different notes. Not only was the sword badly broken despite being made of the metal known as Uru, but the fact that it was present at all in reality speaks volumes about the Thanos of Earth 838 and what he thought of the Illuminati versus what he thought of the Avengers in 616. On Earth 616, Thanos abandons his armor after collecting just 2 Infinity Stones.
So this is something we talked about a lot back then. I think there were comments made by the Russo brothers that were saying he's on something of a religious quest or like a crusade. So Thanos taking his armor off in Infinity War when he gets the second stone is really telling to where he sees himself in the universe. He essentially sees himself as someone who has reached damn near godhood already, just with 2 stones, but not in 838.
Throughout the remainder of Infinity War, he wears very little physical protection. After invading Xandar and defeating Thor aboard the Statesman, Thanos decides that he is powerful enough to move around uninhibited by his armor. Instead, he relies on 2 stones to be enough, and for the most part, he's ultimately correct, as he suffers very little in the way of physical injuries before his near defeat in Wakanda at the hands of Thor. This, though, is not the case for Thanos in 838. If he was still carrying the sword in this reality, despite holding at least 4 Infinity Stones that we actually get to see in his gauntlet at the time of the Illuminati flashback, then it stands to reason that he regarded the Illuminati as a much more dangerous threat than the Earth 16 Thanos believed that the Avengers of his reality were. This Thanos seems to have been challenged far earlier in the story, and at some point in his battle with the heroes of Earth 838, he decided that he still needed his sword in addition to 4 Infinity Stones.
That's really key to keep in mind. This dude literally had 4 Infinity Stones, was still wearing full armor, and still utilizing that sword. So essentially, like the main takeaway from this video is that the Illuminati of 838 were way beyond the power capacity of the Avengers. And also Thanos didn't even complete the gauntlet in 838. Literally 838 Illuminati was so strong that they defeated him, not with the stones, but with the Book of Ashanti, utilizing the power of that Doctor Strange, who was fucking juiced out of his mind. He had done Darkhold stuff. He had done dream walking. He had seen the multiverse. He had the Book of Ashanti. He's further down the line of kind of what we think might be the inevitable push of Steven than 616. I mean, on top of that, you've already got the Inhumans. You've got Charles. Charles is a professor, meaning in 838, he already had the school, all of these different things, right? So a lot of the stuff that hasn't happened yet in 616 has happened in 838 and happened way, way faster.
Confirmed that they used the Book of Vishanti to defeat Thanos, and if he was aware of this, it could also help to explain why he held onto his sword despite being far more powerful, believing that this is the weapon that ultimately threatened him. Though the Book of Vishanti was never actually used in the Multiverse of Madness, the book is described as having the ability to grant a sorcerer virtually any power he could need in any situation, or as they put in the film, to defeat any foe. The fact that Doctor Strange believed that the book would grant him the ability to stand up to Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch herself, speaks volumes about its alleged power and what it might have been capable of, as Wanda is one of the single most powerful individuals in the known Marvel Cinematic Universe, as she proved heavily in Multiverse of Madness. This would make a master of the mystic arts, with the book on hand, one of the single most powerful individuals in all universes. And it stands to reason that Earth 838 Doctor Strange with the Book of Vishanti was worlds above our iteration of the Good Doctor, because of the book's inherent power. While many of the Illuminati members are incredibly powerful in their own right, very few of them seem to be capable of breaking Uru outright, which is again an incredibly impressive feat that we want to explore more. let alone to the extent that we see Thanos' blade fractured in the flashback. Reed Richards and Professor X are largely relying on their intellect in all battles.
So he kind of just goes on to say, like, basically Doctor Strange was juiced out of his mind, and it's really, really crazy, right? So, again, the way I'm viewing that is, if you really think of the sacred timeline, it seems like he's holding them back, or Kang was holding them back, and I really think the main idea was trying to get the Avengers to be able to defeat Thanos with the full gauntlet and probably push them to use time travel in order to do so. And there'll probably end up being something really significant to what happened during Infinity War with, or rather within Endgame during the time heist and all of these different things. That's going to be really central for when He Who Remains recruits them back to try to stop the Beyonder Kang and all of that sort of stuff. But I also think that Beyonder Kang, here's something really interesting about Beyonder Kang, okay? And then I'll look at questions and we'll kind of get into all of that, okay? There's a moment in Loki that I was made aware of on New Rockstar's new channel called Deep Dive, okay? And one of the things that they went over in one of their videos was discussing this ore. There's this metal that Sylvie is trying to get at the start of Loki when they first start tracking her down. I don't know if you guys remember this. Remember, she has like that shovel device, and she's trying to get that ore, okay? And I think that ore is going to end up being what the multiversal engine is made out of, and that at various points within the multiverse, that ore is there. And that's like the juice. That's the stuff that allows Kang to do all of his stuff. It's probably going to end up being what allows Sylvie to perhaps do what she's doing in Loki season 2. And I think that ore and that metal and devices made out of that metal will maybe end up being connected to the 10 rings, to the bangles and all of that. So, as I said, we figured it all out, and now we know the whole multiverse, and that's what it is. So. Did you get it? No, show us Babu. Jesus Christ. He's never far away, Babu. He's never far away, Babu. He's never far away, Babu. Yeah. Okay. Okay, any questions? Everybody's got it? Got it figured out? Do you get it? Nice. Do it, Jonathan. That'd be sick. Hey, Josh, start a deodorant fund. Wait, what? What does that mean? You think I'm stinky? I actually have deodorant on. You have to do a Babu giveaway? Hell no. That's my Babu. What about the Darkhold? Well, what about the Darkhold? I think the Darkhold in the multiverse, for the most part, is created by a variant of Kang. And it was at least transcribed by a variant of Kang. And it's likely to try to just get Wanda out of the way. Probably Hard Light, the Nor. Yeah, it could be something like that for sure. Babu Blackberry deodorant, Josh? Make it happen? That's weird. I recall something about a sacred timeline. Yes. Kendall, what do you think? What's your question, bro? I know you probably have a question. Throw it in. Dormammu is coming back to eat some universes? Well, it's possible. I mean, Dormammu is such an interesting... Like you said in your short, I think, Fernie, Dormammu's dimension does not have time. So it is possible the dark dimension Oh man, you want to know something real crazy? The dark dimension feels like another place that you could access outside of time and perhaps even build up a base to play the game of worlds. What if 616 Doctor Strange becomes the leader of the Black Priests via the dark dimension? Woo! It's just so much to say. Why doesn't Illuminati know about Kang, who destroyed universes, but think that Doctor Strange is a threat to the multiverse? Is Kang messing up their existence? I think so. I think so. Remember, too, that at the level the council is at, they can do robots that are essentially unrecognizable replicants. So something like a life model decoy. They can also create, I think they're called time phantoms, which are like copies of other people created by the Kangs. There's a dark dimension and a light dimension, yin yang. Yeah, so you think the Norn is the light dimension? Josh, talk Star Wars? I will on Nerd Theory. Dude, I'm excited about Star Wars. Star Wars is great right now. There's a lot of cool stuff coming about the Acolyte. Like, let's get it. But also, I'm done covering it. They could retcon Dormammu to be Doctor Strange / Black Priest. What do you think? Yeah, something like that would be sick, dude. What will America Chavez's role be going forward? America Chavez is incredibly important to this whole thing. I don't know how exactly, but she's going to be really important. So with the Council of Kangs, why don't they come for He Who Remains if they exist? So they either don't know about He Who Remains, or they know about He Who Remains and they can't get to him. I think that's where the true power of Alioth comes in. I think they literally cannot get to him. That's what I think. So, because I think in the post-credit scene, they're literally saying, I think they know what it is. They're like, oh, bro, they're beginning to touch the multiverse. Again, they're like, how could they not, within the multiverse, how could they not realize that timelines are going to touch the multiverse? Like, what are they saying when they're saying they have begun to touch the multiverse? They're saying that the people and variants from the sacred timeline are beginning to touch the multiverse. And we haven't accounted for this. So, I don't know. This is going to be wild. But he is in their Citadel? No, I think those are different locations. The Colosseum, where the Dynasty is not the Citadel at the end of time. Now, at one time, I do think they all actually were in the Citadel because of the statues and because of some of the other things. But at some point, perhaps during the last multiversal war, He Who Remains kicked them all out and isolated his timeline using Alioth. So they are looking at a different multiverse. Yes, they are looking at the multiverse that they've always been looking at. That's always existed. That is just figured out from everything they want it to be. Yeah. I don't think the other Kangs have a TVA. I think they do. I think they do, especially if at one time they all created the first TVA together. So what about the multiverse that was created in Loki? That is a multiverse that is essentially all spinning out of an isolated timeline. And the only reason that's important and significant is because any branch from that sacred timeline is something that the Dynasty has not accounted for yet. And yes, I do believe Sylvie will be watching over that, yeah. But if there's only one Alioth and he destroyed, that changes a lot. That changes a lot, yes. So did He Who Remains create the sacred timeline of his own volition during the war? I think so. Or did the council exile him to an unattached timeline? No, I think it lines up the first way better because there's evidence of all the Kangs at one time working together. Yeah. Of course, it's just a theory, and we don't know for sure, right? Like, you don't know for sure, but that's what I think is going on here. And it's really based on, again, comments. The key things to think about here were comments made by Jeff Loveness about how the multiverse works and how they're not supposed to lose, and how when he was destroyed, that's something that's not supposed to happen. And then if you think about what Alex said from the Cosmic Circus, he's essentially said the loop is broken. They're going to be super pissed at Scott. They're super pissed at Janet, all of these other things. Oh, and you know, the other thing that kind of like puts the theory a little bit wobbly, but I still think actually works, is the fact that Janet somehow met Kang the Conqueror before the events of Loki, which is really weird. That's where it gets like a little bit like, what? But technically speaking, if the Kangs just sent, so essentially, like, look at it from the perspective of the council, okay? So they have the multiverse completely mapped out, right? So then all of a sudden, the Kang the Conqueror variant, he looks ahead and he's like, oh shit, like it ends in multiversal war. And probably the other Kangs are like, yeah, it does, but it's fine. And he's like, nah, that's fucked up. I want to change this. I want to change this. So then the council turns on him. They beat that ass, and then they isolate him in the quantum realm, and they rebuild the multiverse without his shit. And they're just like, okay, we're good. But they must know that at some point he's going to break out of there, right? Because it's on a loop. You know, there's even like a thing I believe where, you know, the one guy says, oh, you're probably just mad that you weren't the one to kill him. And I think that's actually kind of telling, because I think that will end up being the inevitable thing on the loop. But that's not what happened this time. Something unexpected happened. Something different happened. Right? And I know it's really timey-wimey. Like, it's really hard to, like, make sense of it. But this is, like, given all of what I consider to be the reliable information and all of the context, I think this is what's happening. Why didn't they just kill him, though? You know, I really don't have a great answer for that. I've thought a lot about that. One answer is that they're all causally the same. Maybe. Another answer is they think if they kill him, it makes something else bad happen later on, so they can't essentially kill him. That is sort of a puzzling part for me. It's like, why didn't they just kill him? Like, why is it important that he goes there? You know? The super ants will defeat the Council of Kang. Yeah, 100%. That's what's going on. That's basically where it's all headed. So I hope you're ready for that shit. Okay. You guys want to react to some videos? Or is it like too much? Have we opened too much of a can of worms and now we need to try to sort this out? Or can we watch some videos? Wow, this video's 26 minutes long? Ah! I don't know if we can watch all of this. Holy shit. Holy shit. Okay, let's watch some videos. Oh, man, 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 oh, man. I didn't know this was 26 minutes. Okay, so this is I believe this is Philip Molina, right? Am I wrong? This is a channel, I think, made by Philip Molina, who was he was a New Rockstars guy back in the day. Honestly, don't know too much about him, but I think that's what this is, unless I'm mistaken. Chat, help me out here. Thank you, Gabe. Peyton, thank you. 1.25. Yeah, maybe. Let's see what the cadence is. He runs the channel now. Yeah, Philip, fund a new Rockstar, and this is his new project. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Paul was speaking very highly of this video, so I want to check it out.
Successful franchise in the entire world. Kudos on that. Seriously, you have accomplished more than most producers have in their entire lifetime, and you've changed blockbuster cinema
I want it in high def.
Forever. But I have to say, I'm starting to see the cracks.
Uh-oh.
I've been noticing the cracks, and this is coming from the guy who likes Ant-Man 3 and Black Widow. I don't hate
what?
the majority of your projects, but
It's
I'd
cool.
be
You
lying
can
if
like
I said I
Ant-Man.
wasn't disappointed with different facets of them and the overarching plan for your universe. The fabric of what you've created is mutating into something that is completely soulless and has none of the pizzazz of what you're basing your films off of. You have 60 years of comic books to look back on, 60 years of beautiful imagery and engaging pieces of character story.
Can we just stop for a second and all fucking cry our eyes out because the sad music and the way he's talking about it, it's really effective filmmaking because like now I just want to fucking cry. I just fucking cry. It's mutated. I'm fucking wham. Okay, let's keep going.
That, as of right now, you seem to have been completely ignoring. I mean, you sure love cameos, but what do those cameos mean? If I see John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, am I supposed to be excited because I know who Mr. Fantastic is? Is it because you allowed the internet to lobby something into existence? Or is it just because I'm supposed to be a big fan of The Office? I mean, that's what my mom thinks, but you know, in creating a truly impressive cinematic universe, something I in no way want to take away from you, there is still the loss of something more important. So I want to express where I think we can go from here and get us back on track.
So that's actually an interesting question. Let's ask the chat. What do you think the purpose is? Like, what are fans supposed to do with the fan? I have my answer, but what's your answer? Josh, I thought you didn't like being sad. It's true. The mental gymnastics here is insane. Burn it! Wait, what? To watch these to imagine their own source cameos or to make fans excited for the future projects, they'll spend more money. Consume, kick rocks. The Office is great. Yeah, so I think it's actually pretty simple. The idea of seeing Mr. Fantastic and John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic is really more about the character of Reed. And it's in a movie called The Multiverse of Madness. It's to suggest and show that out there in the multiverse, there's a version of the Marvel Universe where Reed Richards was on the Illuminati with Mordo, Captain Marvel, and friggin' Professor X. Like, that's what it is. Like, and I think that the idea of Multiverse of Madness, now, to be fair, maybe the point of the video or the point he's trying to make is that that's already like a leap that I just don't know if normies will be able to latch onto. But for me as a hardcore comic book person, I love Marvel Comics, the Fantastic Four, the idea of actually seeing Reed Richards in an MCU movie, in canon to Marvel. That is the draw. That is the draw. That is why it's dope. So to me, it's more of just a cameo. It's the idea that now in canon, there is a universe where Reed Richards exists. Now, he does get spaghettied, of course, but like, I don't know if I even agree with that first point, like saying that the cameo doesn't have a purpose. I don't agree with that.
Have some of the greatest fictional characters of the last century at your fingertips. And at first, that was something you wielded with the weight of the Infinity Stones. You treated these characters with care and gave them their time to shine. Now, everything has fallen to the wayside for this chronicle of the multiverse, which I have to tell you again, is not that interesting. I honestly think the multiverse could have been the MCU's saving grace. Kind of insane to think that in hindsight. The premise would have allowed them to finally shed the shackles of the shared universe for good. No more single story, a whole universe of disconnected interpretations, and similarly, it presents.
So again, this is really fascinating because I think the thing he's talking about here, I agree with, but I also think Marvel agrees with it. And I think Marvel is doing it. They're sort of trying to piecemeal out, though, how we get okay with that. Because here's the thing. You're talking about a franchise that leveraged its canon and interconnectivity heavily. So it would be very weird for them to abruptly begin saying, oh, via the multiverse, here's this thing that's completely different and separate and unconnected canon. So the idea of exploring the multiverse via the canon we already have is the right way to do it. I think, though, there's something to be said for how that got fucked up. Because it got fucked up via delays, via things like, the Sony deal hitting a hard end. Obviously the untimely, tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman. Many different obstacles faced Marvel, Pandy, production woes, Disney Plus mandates. All of these things kind of hit them at one time. Remember that originally Marvel wanted to do Secret Wars in 2024. And one of the reasons I think they wanted to do that is because I think they actually wanted to get to what he's talking about in the video pretty quick, which is Battle World. That's what it is Battle World.
An opportunity to move away from the rigid house style they had fallen into over the Infinity Saga. The multiverse means all these stories don't have to feel like one big thing anymore. They could have given your filmmakers license to cut loose and play with narrative and form in ways their filmmakers hadn't since the very beginning. But Kev, you just didn't. You started setting up another overarching narrative and used the concept of the multiverse as palette swap cameo machine. Movies like Everything Everywhere All at Once upstaged you in a year where you had a film called Multiverse of Madness debut.
Yo, that's really interesting. I want to stop for a second because unless I'm mistaken, and I don't watch the Golden Hollywood Fluff Golden Statue thing, but Everywhere, Everything All at Once, that won Best Picture, right? Did it not? It won Best Picture last night? Am I wrong? I think it swept, right? Yeah, it did crazy, right? Interesting. Couple of interesting things on that. Number one, it does sort of prove, this is kind of interesting, and I think Feige should take note of this, because it's interesting that that kind of a movie, which I would argue is way more complex with the multiverse, was very palatable to a lot of mainstream people. So that's really interesting, and I think Feige should just be like, okay, well, maybe we can just kind of go for it then. But the other thing that I want to say about the movie, and I'm not trying to be a hater, but I did not love that movie in a way that I think many other people did. I thought it was kind of boring, and there's a lot of aspects of it that I just think really drag. It's really cool, and obviously it flies in the ambition of the craziness and the crazy ideas. But I think honestly, the Nick Cage movie, and this might blow your mind, but this is my honest take. The Nick Cage movie with Pedro Pascal, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, I think not only is that movie better than Everything Everywhere All at Once, it's actually deeper than that movie. Because for everything crazy and flashy and wild that everything does, it actually isn't even that deep. It kind of goes to a surface level of humanity, emotions, and all these different things. I literally think that The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is a more interesting and deep analysis of the human condition than that movie. So, look, I get what he's trying to say here, but I just don't I feel like this is a video I'm just going to disagree with the entire time. Because, his point is the multiverse could have been the license for you to do all kinds of crazy shit, but the stuff that has strayed the furthest from the MCU formula has been some of the stuff that I think has been the most divisive, like Eternals. So I don't know if I agree with any point made so far.
A month after, and that movie also proved that the concept of the multiverse has potential to be really interesting if approached with intelligence and unrestrained imagination. The issue is, you've almost exclusively used the multiverse as an in-universe excuse to indulge in cheap fan service and retcon aspects of your continuity. Probably the dullest, most utilitarian way to employ that concept I can imagine. You have a sci-fi concept with so much potential to explore big, interesting ideas of determinism and fatalism, and yet none of these stories, bar perhaps Loki, have really delved into that at all. They pay lip service to these ideas, but they ultimately
Dude, I'm sorry, that's just not true. No Way Home is an incredible usage of the multiverse to put the most weight on the character of Peter Parker. His aunt is killed by a guy from a different universe that he knows is a Spider-Man villain, that his aunt convinces him to try to give another chance, and he tries to cure all of these people, sending them back via the multiverse. The other Peter Parkers are essentially like his Ben in some ways, so they leverage the multiverse for character reasons. Like, to say that they're empty, hollow cameos is just plainly not true. I also think that in Multiverse of Madness, the fact that Steven gets to see all of these different versions of himself that are all fucking up in different ways, and then learn more about himself. Like, I mean, you guys know how I feel about Multiverse of Madness. I think it's a completely underrated movie, and the arc that Steven has is something that I think so many people just miss, and it's really, really interesting. I just strongly disagree with this. I would argue the worst Marvel shit doesn't deal really with the multiverse. It doesn't. Like all of the bogus ass Disney Plus shows that are like mid-city, you know? Like, I don't know, man. I don't agree with this.
Feel like an afterthought, which is truthfully what a lot of the big heady issues you tackle in your film.
Like Love and Thunder doesn't deal with the multiverse. It's garbage. It's garbage.
Films tend to feel like. Remember Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I sure don't, but you know what I do remember about that series is how it had no interest in truthfully tackling the real-world issues it set up, like the military-industrial complex, civil liberties, and fighting against an establishment that has basically stepped on the everyday people for far too long. You had the perfect opportunity to take a stance and say something with your art, but instead, you sat on a fence and then used people as weird mouthpieces to really say nothing. And the same is true with your approach to the multiverse. They feel like an afterthought. This character with this coat of paint, this character in this setting doing this. It's pretty basic. The idea that there can be a lot of Spider-Men is not what's going to keep people coming back. You have to make a good story, a character-focused story that...
The fuck is he talking about? First of all, it does have a good story. It's the most profitable movie Sony's ever made. It was like a massive 4-quadrant hit. I don't understand what's going on here, dude.
Uses the multiverse
like, am I crazy?
in a way to really boost that story. In Into the Spider-Verse, for example, we aren't drawn into the film because Spider-Man Noir or Spider-Ham shows up. We care about Miles' story, his relationship with his parents and how he's feeling lost, the loss of his uncle. There are real human issues at play here. The multiverse allows us to see the weight Miles is feeling. He feels he has a responsibility to fill the shoes of the last Spider-Man, the hero of New York City, and he's just a kid. This is a lot of weight to put on his shoulders. The multiverse allows us to feel all that weight in a visual way. It's a tool to explore something deeper. It's not a plot device, a mechanic, a way to say, oh, well, we'll just correct this and this. No, no, no. It should be an emotional tool, something visual to explore something deeper. And speaking of the visuals, Kevin, what are we doing in that department? Look at this Jack Kirby drawing. It's filled with color and depth.
Maybe
and
finally I'll start
amount
agreeing
of
with
detail. They had limited amount of colors the printer could use back then, and still this is an amazing work of art of a different world. Now, let's look at, I don't know, Thor Love and Thunder, hell, even Thor Ragnarok, sorry Thor, Spider-Man No Way Home, and some of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, your latest endeavor. Again, a film I enjoyed and will defend, just not necessarily in the visual department. And that's just phase 4. I mean, we could go back to phase 3 and stuff, but we'll just keep it there. These fantastical worlds, yes, New York is a fantastical world, they look boring. They're shot like a sitcom. The color palette is all washed out. It's green screen to shit without a care for blocking, camera movement, framing, practical sets. It's done as cheaply and time efficiently as possible. And I think we can all agree the final products are suffering as a result. And that's simply not enough, coming from the biggest movie studio in the world, grossing billions of dollars that can actually afford to do these things and make...
Dude. So, here's the thing. The basic idea that Marvel's visual effects are not up to par, I can get down with. But, like, what the fuck was that? talking about, like, but it's also phase 3. I like Quantumania. Some of it looks like garbage, but this one looks bad. And they're doing these basic ass shots, basic framing, no blocking. And shit. Like, dude, what the fuck is that take? He's right. He's right about some things. I just don't understand the flow of the narrative. Like, if it's bad visual effects, just tackle the bad visual effects. But it's bad visual effects and poor framing and poor directors of photography. They do everything cheap and just cut corners. No, that's not true. The reality of this, and maybe he'll get into this, is it's actually way simpler than that. It's the fact that they changed their mind at the last minute, and then they expect the visual effects house to be able to make it flawless and perfect in a very small timetable. That happens because Marvel is a scramble, fix it right up until you can't fix it anymore kind of a studio. They did that on Iron Man 1. They've done it many different times to a very successful degree. But sometimes it doesn't work. And under the current amount of projects that they are doing, and still having it be that way, where the formula is, oh, a month out, we don't like this, let's change it, fix it, clip this out, clip that. We'd love to have this in there, but we need it to be different from the visual effects department. Like, that's really what it is. It's way simpler than that.
Practical sets and take their time. And look, none of this is anything new. There are plenty of fantastic videos out there talking about Marvel's gross-looking movies. But essentially, the MCU learned all the wrong lessons from Captain America: The Winter Soldier. You guys adopted the house style of the Russos, and it's not doing you any favors. Yes, that was an amazing movie. Hell, it's my favorite MCU movie, and it was beloved, but muted colors and concrete visuals aren't a one-size-fits-all sort of thing. Sure, it fit the grounded political thriller vibes of Winter Soldier,
I'm gonna be honest with you guys,
because it's a film that
I kind of hate this video. I think I'm gonna just move on. I'll watch it privately to kind of like observe, everything that he's talking about, because again, I'm gonna do my version of this video and talk about like what the real problems are and what the real solutions are. As long as you guys are okay with it, I'm over it. I'm gonna move on. Like, it's just like the fucking muted color tone. How is that at all an issue? I just don't understand it. That doesn't speak to the actual issue at all. Quantumania is like a fucking unicorn farting rainbows. It's just blah, 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 blah. Holy shit. Okay, I'm sorry, dude. That shit ain't for me. Like, I have no problem with, like, putting together, like, a big critique, a well-designed critique, but be consistent to what you're even talking about. Like, holy shit. Okay.
Phase 4, more like phase...
Okay, here we go. Wait, what the fuck? Okay. I already like this one better, but here we go.
Phase 4, more like phase snore. That's right, guys. This one's been a long time coming. I was gonna make this video last year after Black Panther came out, but I kind of got a little busy. And Black Panther 2 left me a little more optimistic about the future of the MCU. It was one of the better movies in Phase 4. But then the movies got bad again. So here we go. It's rant time. I'm gonna talk about the current state of the MCU and how I think that things should change pretty soon, or else I don't see people sticking around for much longer. See, when I look back on the 4th phase of the MCU, I do not have strong feelings about most of the things that I have watched. It's disappointing that right after Endgame, they chose to just flood the market with a plethora of mediocre shows and movies.
Agreed with that shit.
The common word I hear around the MCU nowadays is mid, and honestly, I think it's...
Dude, spot fucking on. You know what the problem was? It's not goobly glob, let's pull out all of these things, this director, photography, muted tone, blah, blah, blah. They're not blocking shots. No, it's that the shit's mid! It's that there's a bunch of fucking mid!
It's probably the most accurate use of that word. Because mid doesn't really mean bad, it just means mediocre, middle of the road. And yeah, the recent MCU entries usually aren't horrible. Every once in a while you'll watch something pretty fun and cool. But most of the time, it's just fine It might be entertaining in the moment, but usually it's nothing that will blow you away or leave a lasting impression. The Infinity Saga was, for the most part, well planned out and well executed, and of course, there are a lot of mid-movies in that collection, but there are also a lot of iconic action-adventure movies in there too.
True.
And if you want to follow that up, you kind of have to go bigger and bolder, and Marvel is not doing that right now. I will never understand why.
That is the thing, and I think that's really what I'll focus on in my video is like, they're just piecemealing shit out, not going as big as they should be. Like, that's what it is. Like, they're just not going as big as they should.
They followed up the most popular movie of the 21st century with this.
This was fun! No!
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, the Multiverse Saga has potential to be more interesting than the previous overarching plot. An evil time-traveling mastermind with multiple incarnations of himself trying to stop the Avengers is a much more interesting story than Purple Man wants to kill everybody. But that's only if you execute it well. You kinda have to plant seeds for this story at every opportunity. And so far, about half of the movies and shows from Phase 4 have had nothing to do with Kang or the multiverse or anything like that.
True.
And honestly, Marvel's running out of time because everybody's got a fucking multiverse now. And Marvel started this train with Spider-Verse, which wasn't an MCU thing, but still, it led to No Way Home, which kind of got us in this position. But after that movie, they've kind of just been dicking around. Normally, I'm okay with having a standalone story every once in a while that doesn't affect the overarching plot. But so far, the last dozen entries really haven't had any connecting tissue. Everything has been a standalone story.
So, yes or no? You guys kind of agree with that? You know, the perhaps strategy of having some of it that's connected to the multiverse, but a lot that isn't. Do you agree that's part of the issue? Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of us agree. And by the way, I'm trying to get kind of a metric of where you guys are at too, because when I do my video, I want to talk about my feelings, but I also kind of want to talk about like where you guys are at with most of this. So yeah, kind of interesting.
Kind of feels like Marvel was just kind of throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. And obviously, the thing that everybody thought would be popular was the most popular entry. People very clearly react well to the multiverse stuff. But I don't think that's going to last much longer, especially since everybody's copying it now.
Right.
Instead of following up Phase 3 with stories people want to see, we have a movie about a dead lady, we have a movie where Thor kind of fucks around for a few hours, we have a movie that tries to introduce a bunch of characters that have no personality, a movie so bad that Marvel's basically pretending it never happened. Gee, that's a nice multiverse saga, but tell me, how does Cersei the Eternal fit into all of this?
I mean, you might be
That
surprised.
movie ends in probably the funniest way, with her getting kidnapped by a giant space god. And it's just crazy that not a single character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has brought up the fact that this shit happened. Like, is that just sitting there forever? No one's...
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's so interesting because, like, I think this is speaking a lot to how most of us feel, and I agree. And also, like, dude, what the fuck was this? That other video was like, oh, multiverse bad. Everything all at once, though, did it right in one best picture, but multiverse bad and stupid. No, multiverse fucking dope. Like, regardless of how you feel about Multiverse of Madness, it made damn near $1 billion without China. The Spider-Man movie went fucking nuts. People like it, okay? It's cool. Again, if done the correct way. The shit he's talking about right here, absolutely true and on point. Now, this is obviously going to be massive for the MCU moving forward. The big sweaties, we know this because it's going to be dropped into New World Order. It's going to be dropped into Thunderbolts. This is where you're going to get your adamantium. This may be where you're going to get Genosha, all kinds of crazy stuff. So this is important for sure. But that is a fair point. It has felt very meandering. It's felt all over the place with a lot of stuff that doesn't
we're going to talk
directly
about it
connect.
or bring it up. And I kind of understand the problem to a certain degree. How do you follow up the biggest blockbuster of all time when half of your original superhero lineup is unavailable? We got 2 dead people, Joe Biden, and a couple of guys who don't seem like they really want to be in these movies anymore. But I think that the focus has been a little too much on world building and not as much on character building.
That's fair.
Every character that's featured in one of the shows has the same exact character arc. Almost all of them have been about the main character accepting who they are and then getting their costume. Hell, even the shows about the established characters have this same formula. This is how Captain America accepts his role as a superhero and gets his costume. This is how She-Hulk accepts her role as a superhero
and gets her costume. True.
This is how Wanda does domestic terrorism and gets her costume.
I gave
most of these shows acceptable scores.
Damn it.
But almost none of them have left a lasting impression on me. These are all the same show except for Loki and WandaVision, which are my favorites. They're very fun and creative. And honestly, if I had to pick one thing from Phase 4, I think Loki overall stands as the best project, the thing that I think is legitimately good, and I've grown to appreciate more as time goes on.
Same. Big same. By the way, can't wait for my Loki Season 1 rewatch. I'm very excited to get back into that show. It is legitimately far away, I think, the best thing that they've done in total. No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness are right there for me as well. And literally everything else, maybe Shang-Chi's pretty close just because I thought it was so dope, but everything else is pretty far below that. It's kind of wild.
Because this is what I want more of. Flesh out a character that we actually care about. Give us creative concepts. Introduce new characters that are really likable. And do all of that in a way that matters in the overarching plot that you're trying to establish.
Yeah.
I never thought in a million years that the Loki spin-off show would be one of my favorite MCU entries, but whatever. I'm at the point where I would have enjoyed more if they made less movies and less shows and just worked extra hard on the ones that they put out.
That's fair.
Because not only has the storytelling taken a hit, but the movies and shows just look worse now too.
True.
They've been working their artists to the bone to meet these insane deadlines, and it shows in the final product. Every aspect of these projects feels rushed.
Definitely.
The storytelling is aimless and only works to set up individual sequels. Character development is in service of eventually shoving these characters onto the same team in the future.
Yeah.
And the visuals are dookie because we got to pump out 7 projects in a year. I said back when Endgame came out that I wouldn't have been upset if the MCU took a break for a while, and I think most people would have been fine with that too. But instead, we got the exact opposite.
Right.
It's definitely a case of quantity over quality. And luckily, I think Marvel knows that now. The lukewarm overall reception of Phase 4 has definitely caught their eye. They recently stated that they're going to be pushing back a lot of the shows and movies that were planned for this year. It's no surprise that all of the shows that nobody cared about have been postponed to further notice.
Yeah,
which I am
fuck all
so
those
thankful
shows.
for.
Like, seriously. Like, there's Daredevil. That's it. As far as the shows. That's it. You know? Like, I feel like this guy's nailing it. This guy's nailing it on the takes.
Because I really could not muster up any excitement for the Echo spin-off show.
Yeah, you know, Jeff Snyder said something really interesting when we were watching all that stuff on Friday, which remember, like, everybody freaked out and like I'm like a big villain because I'm like talking about like what Jeff talking about. One of the things he said in there, he was talking about the smell test. Do you guys remember this? He was talking about like how the Silver Surfer show passes the smell test. Established character, has had movies in the past, has had his own cartoon show at one point. Silver Surfer, boom, crazy. Like, dude. Echo is not that. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing with the Echo show? Like, I really do think that they should lean more in to, like, doper, more established, like, popular characters. Like, it is crazy to me that we're getting an Agatha Coven of Chaos show. Like, and I like Catherine. She's awesome. Catherine Hahn, she's awesome. But what? Why? Wonder Man? What? Why? Even Vision Quest? Ironheart? Bro, maybe instead of like saying, okay, we want to do this show, oh, but nobody will give a shit, so let's throw a bunch of crazy stuff in there. Like, for instance, with Echo, they're like, let's throw Kingpin and Daredevil in there. It'll basically be a prelude to Daredevil Born Again, so people will go see it. Well, then just make the Daredevil show, dude. Maybe instead of doing like Mephisto, the Hood, all this crazy magic, Obadiah Stane's son in Ironheart, maybe just make that show. Make a Mephisto show, a Mephisto holiday special show or some shit like that, right? Like, or just put her story into Armor Wars. Like, I think that's a major problem with Marvel currently is I think they maybe got a little bit high off their own supply or like got full of themselves to the point where they were like, well, fuck, man, we made the Avengers a huge franchise. We made the Guardians of the Galaxy a massive franchise. We can make Echo into a star. We can make Kate Bishop into a star. We can make Moon Knight into a star. Which I love Moon Knight. Moon Knight's never had a really successful comic book run in the history of comics. Always gets canceled, right? So I don't know, man. Same with She-Hulk. Like, what are we doing here?
And the thing is, I complain so much because I like the MCU. I get that with each passing year, that is becoming an increasingly unpopular statement, but I think it's fine to enjoy these movies and enjoy other movies as well. But as such, I kind of also want the movies to be better. Too many people are like, oh, well, they're just Marvel movies. They don't need to be amazing. And I'm like, well, why not?
Right.
Why can't they be amazing? I've seen superhero movies that are amazing.
Hell yeah.
Movies that were labored over with love and care by everybody involved. Why can't we get that with the MCU? They're the most popular movies that exist right now. Why can't they also be great? And like the other day on Twitter, I saw that somebody posted that one scene from the first Captain America movie, the ending scene that I've praised a million times in the past. Like, if you asked me, I'd probably say that that movie overall is mid too. But I really like that one scene. It's something that kind of sticks with me. It encapsulates the heart of that film really well in just a little moment. And it reminded me that we don't really get moments like that anymore. Even when I like one of the new movies or shows, they never have a moment or a scene or a line that sticks with me. They just lack that iconic quality of the movies that came before.
Yeah.
They're missing the heart. I think the heart is something that we've taken for granted. And even when the new movies are pretty good, it feels like they're virtually impossible to rewatch. If you guys have ever tried to watch No Way Home on your own, on your TV, you'll realize that that movie is only meant to be watched in a packed theater. And that's nice.
No.
When you're in a packed theater.
No!
When you're at home alone watching it, it feels really weird. There are these big pauses where you're supposed to get up and cheer and fucking scream. Now it just feels stunted and awkward. And this is a problem with a lot of these
disagree.
movies. Marvel wants to recapture
I know some people
moments
agree
like
with
this. But this is a moment that was earned after years and years of buildup.
That's fair.
You can't recapture that magic whenever you want. You have to earn it. And
True.
I'm hoping that with the poor reception of Ant-Man, they realize that they really need to get their shit together.
Yeah.
Because eventually, those butts are not guaranteed to be in the seat anymore. And honestly,
I think we're already there, to be honest with you. And I do think that it happened way faster than Marvel anticipated. And I do think they're in somewhat of a... I don't know if panic's the right word for it, but I think they're in a way different mode than they were even a year ago. I think they really felt like the things they were doing were actually working, and maybe there was like part of it I think also has to do with like the pandemic, right? Because it's very challenging for Marvel, especially in those first couple of years, because they essentially have this whole year off. Then you release Black Widow. It actually does really well on Disney Plus, really well in theaters, makes like 500 some million, which seems awesome at the time because we were like, theaters are over, the world's ending, right? And then you have, the shows come out and hit the numbers that they do, which again, I think was, Disney Plus had less subscribers back then. And so I think like from Disney's perspective and Marvel's perspective, they're not like, they're seeing some things, but they're not able to like really say, oh, clearly this is not working, right? And I think then it kind of got to a point where all at once they realized it wasn't working. Like all at once they realized this isn't gonna work for us, and they've tried to like make a really fast change, but the studio already had so much in the pipeline, so much going on, and Feige seems really hesitant to cancel anything, which I think is crazy. I hope. I actually do wish they would cancel some of these shows. It just seems even the strategy of pushing them off for a couple of years to perhaps make them better or more relevant later is a losing strategy. I also don't understand from Disney's perspective how that's okay, right? Like imagine investing in spending money on a product and then basically the guy running the studio being like, oh yeah, and that'll come out in a couple of years. You know? Like that just, I don't know how that's all going to work together. So I think we're in for a little bit of spillover of a lot of the issues from Phase 4 into this year. And hopefully next year we get a lot of that stuff, doing much better. That's kind of where I'm at with it. And, look, I think last week, too, I definitely got pretty fired up about Bob Iger's comments and everything that he said when talking to the investors. But like I stand by the idea that a few years ago Iger wouldn't have said shit. He never would have said shit. And him even opening his mouth to talk about Marvel is, number one, a sign of how bad the situation really is over there. Also, Bob Iger coming in with this sort of like really calloused, like non-supportive attitude to Feige, which I think is ridiculous. Because Disney, over the past couple of years without Marvel, what are they? You know what I mean? It's just, we're at this really, really weird spot with it all. So much pressure, expectations, changing media landscape, etc. So, I don't know. I agree with a lot of what this guy was saying. I did not agree with a lot of what the first video was saying. I'm going to go out and research some more, see what other people are talking about. We can talk about it together right now. But yeah, my version of this video is going to be probably similar to that one. So, okay, perhaps we should get into the Q&A. Want to do some Q&A, ladies and gentlemen? Disney is Disney without Marvel? What does that mean, bro? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Possible the Eternals wasn't 616? And Bob Iger has the right to say whatever he wants because he's the CEO. I think you're missing my point, Alfonso. Number one, of course he has the right to say whatever he wants, but him saying that is indicative of how dire and rough the situation is. And I also think it's disrespectful to Kevin Feige. And I think it's way out of touch, man. Like, he doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to Marvel. But he just feels so compelled to establish some kind of authority or some kind of, like, his explanation to Wall Street or whatever. But, yeah, that's not the way out. That's not the way out, man. Like, that's going to cause more problems, not less. And cause more friction, pressure, all these different things. I think it's just so stupid. So horrible. Okay, so first in today was Drake Odinson, who says, do you care if Thor comes back? You seem to hate him. And then you followed up with Thor's a big three member. Seems like Marvel needs them. Yeah, definitely don't hate Thor. I like Thor a lot as a character. But yeah, Love and Thunder was pretty bad. And I'm frustrated with the arc that Thor has. Because they essentially like undid a lot of the character arcs from him before. But no, I'd love to see Thor come back. I'd love to see Thor come back and like actually do something of note or, have a good arc, etc., etc. Okay. XA says, no watch party is perfectly fine as long as you stream regular time Wednesday and watch Demon Slayer Mugen Train on Saturday. I've been begging. Bro, what? No, we're not going to watch Mugen Train. We're not an anime channel. And I know we got a lot of anime fans in here, but that's not really the main thing that we do. And we'll be streaming at 6 on Wednesday. Lord Vito says, let me try to adjust something here actually, because it's kind of frustrating. Okay, Vito says, everyone asks about He Who Remains, but no one ever asks He How is remained or He Why remains. Damn, just blew my mind. Dr. Cool says, if Secret Wars already happened, my prediction is Alioth will be the surprise monster the Avengers will need to defeat in the final battle. Yeah, I don't think Secret Wars already happened. I think a multiversal war already happened, which is also why when there's a couple of things that are interesting. There was going to be a scene in Quantumania where Kang recognized Hank Pym. Kang also says in that movie, have I killed you before, to Ant-Man? Are you the one with the hammer? So he's killed other Avengers. He's killed Thor before. He's probably killed Hank Pym before. But he's probably just never experienced Scott Lang Ant-Man from 616. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of where the sort of mystery and the loop breaking happens. Man, let's see if I can move this over. Lee, again, thanks so much for the 20, man. Very generous. Says, happy Monday. Good morning, Nerd Vengers. Seriously, though, hope everyone had a great weekend. I'm going to rewind this and listen on my way to work. Everyone have a great day. Thanks, man. That's very, very sweet. Caleb Senpai, more polls. Time for blinkers to fuel the brain. Amen. XA says, is it possible it happened once and He Who Remains reset the timeline, and the only way to break that timeline is Kang escaping the quantum realm, hence why the other Kangs cheered? They were free. No, because he's not worried about that. He's worried about the people that touched the timeline. He's worried that the exile was killed by people that he wasn't accounting for. At least that's my interpretation of it. Let's see here. N64 Rescue says, hold up, y'all. Let him cook. Oh, yeah, we're cooking. Chibawee says, what if everything has been going in circle, everything happening over again, and Kang in Quantumania wants to break the cycle to make it linear with... Wait, what? With BW? What's BW? I don't understand. Maybe? Maybe? I think Kang the Conqueror dying in that movie is not a part of the plan. It's not a part of the loop. Also is what's going to create the Beyonder Kang, which is something that's never happened before, I think. Yeah. And I think they can break time with that ore, which probably is something equivalent to what the Cosmic Cubes are in the comics. Michael Phantom says, so 616 Kang dies, thus he isn't with Council to stop incursions and branches, letting Strange and Ant-Man interact with the Marvelverse, leading to conflict. Wait, so 616 dies, thus he isn't with Council to stop incursions and branches, letting Strange and Ant-Man interact with the multiverse. Okay, so you're talking about He Who Remains? I think the He Who Remains no longer being in charge of the sacred timeline absolutely leads to sort of a multiverse spinning out of 616, which of course will lead to conflict. So if that's what you're saying, I agree. Dr. Cool with a $20 holla says, holding back Strange allows Thanos to complete his snap, therefore forcing Stark to discover time travel, therefore allow technology to be at a proper advancement in the 31st century, allowing Kang to advance his own tech. I like the thought, but the problem is there's Kangs everywhere. There's got to be a Kang from 838. Because I think 838 is something that was being watched over via the multiverse. Like, if we take the post-credit scene of Quantumania to mean that the entirety of the multiverse was being watched over by Immortus, then it can't be the case that Thanos snapping means no Kang. Because there's so many Kangs, dude. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't think that's actually it. Now, it could be the case that there's something special about the time travel and about them overcoming Thanos that's going to be important later on. Like, that's more of my thinking. That's like what I think is going to happen. Buffalo wings? I like buffalo wings. Old Head Mike says, so would it have been better for the multiverse if Strange allowed Wanda to swap places with another Wanda instead of murdering the Illuminati? Would it have been better for the multiverse? I think regardless of that, the multiverse was going to be messed up. I don't know that switch would have actually done anything, but it's possible. I mean, Kang is afraid of Wanda, I think. So maybe. Logan says, here, Josh, start a deodorant fund. Right on. Dazuko says, are Spider-Men outside of Kang's control? Unaccounted for their randomness and chaos. So there's something there. I'm not sure what it'll end up being, but there's certainly something to that. We did a video a couple of weeks back about how the spider sense and the spider totems being connected to the web of life and destiny. There's actually been examples in the comics where Kang is unable to predict Spider-Man, can't really, because of the way that he's connected with the spider sense. I think there's something there. I think that will end up being a plot point as to explain why not only is Spider-Man really important in the Kang Dynasty, but all the Spider-Men, really Tobey, Andrew, and Tom, are important to defeating Kang in Secret Wars. So yeah, I think there's something to that for sure. Chipawee says, what if the Beyonder Kang creates Battleworld, acts as a sort of moon for every multiverse, and he says, fight to decide which one becomes the sacred one? What if the Beyonder Kang creates the Battleworld, acts as a sort of moon for every multiverse, and he says, fight to decide which one will become the sacred one. Yeah, I think something like that's going to happen. I think that the Beyonder Kang is going to want to reshape the multiverse. I believe he's going to want to take the powers of eternity so that he can actually change fixed moments in time. I think even with the powers of the Beyond, he might not be able to change the multiverse completely the way he wants. Because otherwise, so here's the thing. Either Kang gets the powers of the Beyonder and is literally unbeatable, can do whatever he wants, then there's no movie. There's no movie. Or he gets an incredible amount of power, is able to wipe all of the other Kangs off, destroy most of the multiverse, and then attempt to get something else in order to complete his mission. That's what I think the main plot of Secret Wars is going to be, is him doing that. And then maybe that feeds into Eternity Wars. I'm not really sure. Peyton Moore says, most epic music intro bumps every time. Appreciate you, bro. Gabe says, it's out of character for Doom to exist in MCU, shown at the end of MCU Fantastic Four, and at least not know what's going on or involved a la Hickman's run. Oh, I absolutely agree. So they're either going to have to explain why Doctor Doom isn't doing Doctor Doom stuff, or he's going to have to be doing Doctor Doom stuff. I absolutely agree with that. I don't know which way they're going to go with it, but there's a way to do both, right? Kang could have taken him out as well. Kang took out Wanda, essentially, by creating the prophecy in the Darkhold, creating it so that everybody in every universe basically goes after Wanda, preventing her from becoming the actual Scarlet Witch that could defeat him. So maybe it's the same thing with Doctor Doom. There could be something like that. Could be something like that. C-Dub. Oh, shit. C-Dub says, what's Disney going to do if Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is the best movie in the MCU since No Way Home? If it's universally loved, damn, that's going to be awkward for Feige and Disney. So it's kind of wild that you say that, because I think that there's some truth in what you're saying, but imagine the opposite scenario. I saw some people talking about this on Reddit, and I actually agree with some of the Redditors, which is wild because usually Redditors are out of pocket. But they were basically saying, what if Guardians 3 is bad? I want you guys to consider what might happen if Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is a bad movie. Like a real stinker, and everybody doesn't like it. Do you have any idea how devastating that would be to the overall comic book movie industry? Wow, wow, wee wah. That would be horrible. Okay? That would be horrible. It would set off the DCU on a bad note. It would devastate Marvel fans. And then, oh my God, if we have to watch the Marvels and it's really as bad as some people are saying. But then again, everybody and their mom over the weekend was like, no, dude, the Marvels is better than Endgame and Infinity War. All the internal buzz on the Marvels is that it's fucking incredible. Brie Larson and Teyana Paris actually got married. They love each other so much. So maybe those people are right. I don't know. But my point is, like, yeah, that's interesting. If the movie is fire, maybe it causes some problems for Marvel. If the movie is buttholes, bro. I'm at a point with Guardians where I'm like, yo, please let this movie be fucking awesome. Like, please let this movie be awesome. I think we need it to be awesome, actually. So, but I get your point. The talented Mr. Griffin says, Echo and Agatha could easily be a special presentation. That way they could hit all the major points that the shows were willing to tackle in 90 minutes. Yeah, I agree with you. The only thing crazy about the special features is nobody really watched them. So you look at the Disney Plus shows, right? And even though a lot of them are like way underperforming what like HBO shows do and some of these other big shows like Stranger Things, they're still hitting like 500 or 5 million, 3, 4, 5 million households watching. Like, that's still a major imprint. Bro, none of those special presentations cracked any significant, meaningful metric. None of them. So, like, you and I love the Halloween special. You and I love the holiday special, which I really did. But basically, nobody watched it. More people watched She-Hulk. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? What's the scoop on Secret Invasion? Says Miss Spiro Jr. Look, there's a whole bunch of stuff about Secret Invasion. I don't want to get into like leaks and stuff about it, but tonally it should be a nice change of pace. A little more serious. Neon Hum says, thanks for being you, Josh. Nerd Avengers for life. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you. Steve McTee says, Josh, I made some MCU timelines for future phases based on some recent leaks. Do you have any use for them? I can email. I don't have social media. Much love. Yeah, email me at thedenofnerds@gmail.com. Hit me up. XA says, can you or someone in chat tell me what YouTuber we watched on Saturday morning? The one going through the Mandalorians. Yeah, so it's Nerd of the Rings channel, his Star Wars channel called The Nerd Strikes Back, I think, is what it is. Nerd Strikes Back. That's the video we watch. Darian Stone says, Diamond Lounge, baby. Question, though. Which Kang is 616 Kang? He Who Remains? Yes, I think it's He Who Remains, yeah. Maybe more, but I think it's He Who Remains. And probably Victor Timely as well. 34 Virgo says, hey, Jay, would you be willing to watch Neil deGrasse break down the science in Marvel movies? Pretty dope, bro. Yeah, we've watched videos like that before, and maybe at some point we would watch that particular video as well. I'm not against it. I'm just not trying to do it necessarily right now. All right, guys, I'm going to chill for a little bit more just in the chat, see what y'all got to say, see what's going on, and then we're going to get out of here. Should have a nerd theory later tonight, I'm pretty sure, unless something comes up. I want to talk Acolyte with theory, so I'm hoping that we can like really dig into some of the new Acolyte stuff. It's really cool. Tomorrow, Nerd Venture stream at 11. Oh, by the way, if you're in the leaks and stuff, crazy video dropping for you guys later. Not only talking about the plot leaks for Venom 3, which are new and I think they're real, but also explains what Sony's actual plan might be. And it's crazy. Just a little tease. They might actually be doing their own Spider-Man. There might be another Spider-Man actor on the way. I'll explain it all in the video later. It's crazy. It should be really, really fun. And then tomorrow we'll have a Nerd Venture stream. No watch party for Mando. No watch party for Mando, but we will do a breakdown and we'll talk about it that night. Wednesday night. Okay? Low Live says, if you could change the plot of any MCU movie, what would it be? F Love and Thunder. We need blood and thunder. Get Gord, Cook, and Noel post-credit scene. Yeah, I think Love and Thunder would be a massive one for me. Like, have Gore actually killing gods and being more of a menace. So yeah, I'd say do that one. I would definitely redo Quantumania. I really, really dislike that movie. Yeah, so maybe those are the ones. A fourth Spider-Man, maybe. Would Venom be difficult to predict as well, since he's constructed a multiversal consciousness like his own spider web? Yeah, right on, Fernie. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. There's certainly some multiversal stuff to explore there. For sure. Last of Us finale was really good. I'm glad. I'm glad people really like that show. I'm glad people really like that show, man. It's good for video game adaptations. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't help any... Like, because I didn't even watch the Halo show, but I was told, like, it was butthole. You know what I mean? Like, I watched some videos on it. So, yeah, it kind of sucked. But, hey, anytime you get a good adaptation that a lot of people like, that's good for that genre. So... Because then maybe when the corporate people, the next time they do Halo or Gears of War or whatever, they'll be like, well, people really like The Last of Us. What did they do that made fans so happy? And just copy that. That's how they do it. Major letdown if you played the game? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't play them. All right, Alfonso. Well, look, sometimes it's hard to know in text form, exactly what people are saying. So I apologize if I judge your comments harshly. But I think, I think the reason I'm so upset about it is it's really what he's doing by saying that is basically trying to just turn the temperature up under Feige, which internally I have zero problem with. But to do it on an investor call and to sort of assert that you have any sort of idea better than the greatest producer of all time on how to get out of this situation is crazy. And it also actually becomes more ammunition to explain why things have gotten really bad. People can literally now make, and I saw them, they can make articles based on his comments and being like, Bob Iger says Kevin Feige, blah, blah, blah. Madam Web is going to be interesting. Well, we definitely talk about Madam Web in the video that's dropping later today because Venom 3 kind of directly ties into it. Are you seeing Shazam this weekend? No. The greatest producer of all time? Yeah. I mean, how could you argue with it? He created the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The billions of dollars that the MCU have made, I think, stand to sort of support that idea. On top of that, look at how many top-grossing movies he has in the top 10. James Cameron... Maybe. But no, yeah, I think Feige's absolutely the greatest producer of all time. I don't know. It's hard to say. Some people are saying, well, doesn't Phase 4 change that? Or, Phase 4 being bad change that? No, I don't think so. I think what that changes is how long he would be able to be considered that. Because if another producer came along, and did something to that degree, if you think about some of the other greatest producers, you've got Frank Marshall, you've got Kathleen Kennedy, maybe even J.J. Abrams, but I think we'd all probably shy away from calling him that. You could even consider what's the guy's name? Bruckheimer? People that have just produced a legendary... Because, Bruckheimer used to produce, the Pirates movies and shit. Come on, man. That shit's crazy. But I'm telling you, you stack up all of those different people I just mentioned to what Feige did, I don't even think it's close. You're just talking stats. There's so many different stats you could probably do with that. Thoughts on Shazam Wonder Woman TV spot? Yeah, I think that look, the movie's tracking horribly. Shazam 2 is tracking to be the lowest opening of the entire DCEU. So this is Warner Brothers basically trying to pull a Venom 2. And maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll uptick the sales and the box office for Shazam. I don't really have any ill will towards Shazam. I actually like the first one. Zero fucking interest in this one. First of all, it just looks butthole. But second of all, what's the point? What's the point of this movie? You know? Producer tier list. Oh, dude, talk about a stream that like a very small amount of people would be into. Get a golden girl to play Madam Web and have her stop Loki and Kang. That would be pretty cool. Who do I think would play a Wolverine in the MCU? I really don't know. It's a really interesting question. Morbid time. What network would do a better version of Gears of War? HBO Max, Apple TV, Amazon, Paramount, Netflix, etc. Well, they all have the capacity to do it. Again, it would probably depend on the producers. You know? I always thought the Shazam promos are Dungeons and Dragons at first. Yeah, no, for sure. Dude, by the way, guys, have you guys been paying attention to the hype behind that Dungeons and Dragons movie? So it's been playing at certain places, like it played at South by Southwest. I think it still has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and people are hyped for that D&D movie. And I'm holding strong on my $1 billion belief. Oh my god. Dude, if Dungeons and Dragons makes $1 billion, which by the way is still very unlikely, but if that movie makes $1 billion, oh my god, I'm gonna do the funniest stream ever where I just come in and act like I'm Nerdstradamus. I called that shit a mile away. I'm the fucking chosen one. Like, y'all just need to listen up. So go out and see it, and go tell your friends and family about it. Bet your hair? Hell no, bro. I ain't that confident in that shit. It'll make 300 million max? Dude, you're crazy, dude. You're crazy. My Comic Planet says, hey, Josh, new sub here. Question, who's the scoopers with the best track record that you've seen out there and that you trust the most? It's a very small list. It is Daniel, RPK, which most of these other scoopers just steal shit from him anyways. And they either steal shit from his published stuff or they steal shit from other places that I can't really talk about. And then it's My Time to Shine Hello. My Time to Shine Hello and Daniel are pretty much far and away the best scoopers out there. And even they don't have a 100% track record, but they're the best. From there, it trickles down. There are some good people out there. But there's a lot of, like, I think literally from there, you got to take it with a massive grain of salt. Yeah. My Time, LMAO. Oh, you know what's so funny about My Time? My Time is so accurate that even the Redditors on the Marvel Studios spoilers subreddit, who again, like, I'm really not trying to be disparaging here, but like, Reddit people are fucking horrible, dude. They're like the most like depressed, pedantic, like they're really a sad lot. But even those people are pretty much have turned on My Time, and after just understanding the track record over time, they're like, nah, she's literally probably one of the best. Like, she's literally that accurate. For sure. What about Grace? I think Grace is very accurate. I think the thing with Grace is sometimes she'll talk about stuff. She gets caught a lot in that whole, oh, this was real at one time, but now it's not. And I think she doesn't use the best judgment sometimes. It's like, what should she or should she not talk about? Charles Murphy, incredible. Charles Murphy, incredible. But I think there's a bias situation there sometimes with Murphy. But no, he's got incredible sources. I mean, most of the scoopers, or I should say, like, I actually don't know a lot about, like, My Time. My Time might be an anomaly, but a lot of the other established people all come from an old Marvel website about 8 to 10 years ago. They all worked on this one website together, and I know some of their actual names. And I know some stuff about them because one of the people that used to work at that website is actually pretty chill, and I've had a lot of conversations with them. So they all kind of come, there's like, all of them come from like that one side, and then My Time comes out. I really don't know My time. XA says, good Universal Cinematic mashup, MCU plus Gears of War. Imagine all the Avengers die off and the Locust emerge. Yo, you're wildin', bro. That sounds kind of like some cool fan fiction, though. That's wild, though, bro. What are you talking about? That's wild. I like it, though. RJ Phyllis says, happy Monday, Josh. Iger completely disrespectful to Feige, and I don't like it. Super hyped up for the D&D movie. Taking time off this week to go down to Denver for the NCAA tournament. Can't wait for Nerd Theory! Well, thanks for the 10 spot, man. That sounds like a fun-ass time. And, yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with it, too. It's like, it's disrespectful, dude. It's disrespectful. However, at the same time, I mean, shit's not going well. They do need to change. But, you know, me, I've been hearing they've been changing it for like 6 months. The problem is the machine has been running, and we still have a whole bunch of stuff that still has to come out that's not that great. You know? Yeah. Is my time a guy or a girl? I honestly don't know. I actually lean towards, and I hope that he or she doesn't get upset, but I'm actually leaning towards being a guy. I think my time is probably a dude. You remember calling Grace my queen? I do. That was like pre-Pandy. Am I making a bracket this year? No. No. Possible Gundam Evolution stream? Oh, well, I would love that. The problem is, like, 5 people would probably show up. Josh, are you a dude? You know, sometimes I get confused about that too, to be honest. Grace could get the business if she doesn't speak. What? Oh my god, bro. If Echo and Agatha are bad, I'd rather just get it over with. Same. Same. Big same. Whoa, look at this. Dope. Streams be bumping today? Yeah, man. I felt like it was a good one. Have I heard about Roger Wardell? Oh, yeah. Definitely. What are some of the shows you watch? Wait, what? What are some of the shows that you watch that are on now? I don't know if I am watching anything right now. I'm watching some anime, but a lot of older stuff. Yeah, I don't think I'm really watching a show right now. Been playing Warhammer. Watching a lot of videos on Warhammer. Do I think Feige might transition to the CEO of Disney? I don't know if he would be the CEO, but I think he'll be in charge of content. Like, he's going to be probably what was the guy's name? Alan something or other. The guy that fired James Gunn, Alan whatever. He's going to be like that. My Comic Planet says, why does the new look April O'Neil look more like a Ninja Turtle than the actual Ninja Turtles do? LMO, smack my head. I thought the Turtles looked cool, man. I thought the Turtles looked cool. Here's the thing. I don't have a strong attachment to the Ninja Turtles. Like, so I don't really care, like, either way. I think April looks fine. I think the Turtles look fine. It looks like a fun show. But then again, I'll probably never watch that show. Like, I'm not in the Turtles like that, right? Elijah says, bruh, can you put them guns away? My girlfriend watches these streams. Sheesh! I'm trying to keep them low-key. Try to keep them down here for y'all, you know? Oh, and by the way, I know some of you guys saw this on Twitter, but I did a dedicated cardio day for the first time since maybe I was fucking 19. Alan Hoare, thank you. Holy shit, dude. I did not know cardio hurt like that. So I thought I'd be able to do like 40. Yeah, so I did 35 minutes straight of cardio. And dude, I felt like I got hit by a Mack truck, bro. I felt like I got hit by a Mack truck. I was in some pain, dude. I had to take Advil yesterday. Yo. I do about 11 miles on the Peloton daily. It's tough. Dude, it hurt me. I was like, damn. But I'm actually kind of excited to do it again. Yeah. And literally, I was like, nah, this will be nothing. I was like, this will be nothing. We're going back in there today, though, to get it. 35 minutes is like 2 to 3 miles. Good work, my guy. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the support. Unless you're trying to be fucking sarcastic, you punk ass bitch. I do cardio with my wrist flick exercise I do alone. Let me think about that for a second. Gross. Probably not doing that many minutes then, are you? I do 1 hour cardio per day, 4 miles per hour. Hot damn. Hot damn. The new Flash movie will apparently be used to get rid of Henry Cavill's Superman. Yeah, and then they're going to get rid of that. They're going to get rid of everybody in that universe. Like, anyway. Yeah. Dude, yeah, cardio's tough, dude. When will Doctor Doom be introduced? The rumor is at the end of the Fantastic Four movie, likely in a post-credit scene. I don't do cardio. I do Cardi B. Nice. Nerd theory tonight? I believe so, unless something else happens. Henry Cavill in Warhammer, thoughts? Oh, I'm excited. I hope that that works itself out and they get to producing that ASAP because I'm loving Warhammer right now, man. And I'm very excited for 10th edition. What the fuck? Broke my pen. How do we get James Gunn's wife to play Doctor Doom? Put James Gunn in charge of casting it. When are you going to announce that Gunn actually casts you for Superman? I mean, at this point, I'd be surprised if he doesn't cast himself. Like, he's given all the $1 million jobs to himself, his family, and his friends. And you know what? Maybe he just knows this shit's all going to collapse. And there's no way to actually save it. And so maybe he's just trying to collect a few $1 million and make a couple cool projects like The Authority and then get fired. You know? And honestly, if that's really what he's doing, I that's the capitalist in me, the dirty capitalist that's in me. I gotta respect it. I gotta respect it. And to be honest with you, if he just makes The Authority and it's like kind of dope, fuck it. I'll forgive him. It's fine. It's fine. I love The Authority. Just played D&D last night and all we did was steal a bunch of stuff for 4 hours. Yeah, that's why D&D is so great though. Because it, like, whatever the players want to do becomes the thing. Like, I remember this one campaign, man. There was a shop that me and my buddies pulled up on. And we did all this crazy stuff, like tried to get through the window, tried to cut a hole in the ceiling. We snuck in it. Dude, the door was open the whole time. But for some reason, we thought we had to break into this place. And so we did all this crazy shit, spent all this like brain power and time figuring it out. And then we break in essentially and somebody just comes in the front door. That's why D&D is great. Yeah, no. Josh with the glasses looking like a young George Lucas. What you talking about, bruh? Talking about Instagram? Yeah. All right, everybody, gonna get on out of here. I'm hungry. So I gotta go eat some food. Much love. So just to kind of TLDR what happened today on the stream. We 100% figured out the entire multiverse plan. 100%. We got it. No questions in our mind whatsoever. And you guys got to give me credit for it when it all happens that way. Next up, we watched a bunch of people talking about how the MCU is wrong. Some of them were right when it aligned with my opinion. They were wrong when they didn't align with my opinion. So I'll be making my own version of that video, and it'll be 100% right and accurate because it's my opinion. So I'm glad that we were able to do that together as a community. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Much love. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Ah, another great stream. Another happy landing. Yeah, man. You know, I wanted to be pretty positive today. Originally, when I was working on a thumbnail, I had the thumbnail be the beginning of that, or the film speak video, which has like FEIGE crying on the thing, and I was going to be reacting to it. And I was like, no. I don't want to frame the entire stream as negative again about Marvel. I'm sure it'll come up, and we can react to the video. But let's instead nerd out about the multiverse. So I'm glad you were here for it. Glad you had a good time. Make sure that you open up that third eye, that you wash out your poopy butthole, and try not to get triggered by Jedi Mike. Yeah, man. I'll see you later.